All right, so that's going to bring us to our top 5 power ranking teams after week 12. So I'm going to quickly get us started here. So we have a lot of teams who are tied with 8 wins. So pretty much how I made my list was based on obviously the teams who won, but who played against a more competitive opponent, if that makes sense. So at number 5, I've got the Green Bay Packers. I thought they played a really good game against Chicago. We haven't seen them blow out a team in a really long time. So I kind of thought that they deserved some recognition there. 4, I have the Titans. They are fantastic. They're phenomenal. Last week I had them tied with the Colts because I still wasn't sure who was better. But after this past game, the Titans definitely made that decision easy for me. Number 3, I have the Saints. Yes, they played against Denver. It wasn't the greatest game for Denver. We knew it was going to be a blowout, but they still got 9 wins. Pittsburgh, number 2. Again, the Baltimore game was meh, but they're undefeated. And then Kansas City, number 1, amazing game against Tampa Bay. That was a really exciting game. Probably the most exciting game for me all weekend.
Okay. So for me, I had a tough decision at number 5. Number 5 was probably the hardest decision for me. It was between Tennessee and Green Bay. And I just felt that divisional win on both sides, I couldn't even imagine it. But you know what? I went ahead and took the Tennessee Titans because I liked what Derrick Henry did. I thought he came out, and that boy, he's warming up, guys. He's starting to get into that vicious mode right now, and it's getting cold out, and he's looking for guys to hit. So at number 5, I got the Tennessee Titans. At number 4, I'm going to put the Bills there. I like what they did. They got a nice 10-point win against the Chargers. Thought it was real good of them. They're quietly doing their thing out there in the AFC East, and they're right now in a great position in the playoffs for themselves, so they should keep it up. Their next 2 matchups are really going to determine where they are, though, because they got a game at the 49ers, and then they have a game at home against the Steelers. If they win both of those, imagine that. Number 3, I got the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to tell you guys, it doesn't feel right keeping them here. I had them here last week. You guys played a team that wasn't even really a team. It's just the only reason I feel sympathy is because they have Taysom Hill at their quarterback. So it's it was kind of an equal quarterback matchup somewhat. But you know what? New Orleans Saints, you guys are at number 3. At number 2, I'm going to put the Pittsburgh Steelers there. Last week I had them at number 1, but I'm going to move them down to 2 because the game flow and the way everything was going in the game, I just couldn't feel putting them at number 1. The defense, great, nice. You guys have done that the whole season. But that offense, I felt like it slid back this game a lot, quite a bit. I don't know if it's because James Conner's not there. Benny Snell was still doing his thing, but it just felt you guys slipped up and you guys really didn't have the poise to be at number 1 like the Kansas City Chiefs. Not too much to say, only this. I feel like sometimes these guys take their foot off the pedal, which isn't necessarily a good thing, especially when they're ahead. I expect them, when you guys are ahead, keep pushing, keep hitting them with all the offense you have, keep hitting them with all the plays. Don't start winding it back and letting teams get back in it so the game can be like 27-24, like the win against the Bucks. Be careful, guys. Real careful.
All right, so for me, I'm going to leave Green Bay off just because of the fact Chicago is missing arguably one of their best players, Akeem Hicks. I think that game would have been a little bit different. Also, that run defense is still a nightmare. David Montgomery's been horrific all year, and he was really good in that game. 5, Tennessee. Terrific performance. A.J. Brown's a monster. Derrick Henry's a monster. And like you said, Steven, he's just getting better and better as the season goes on. I like where they are right now. 4, New Orleans. I'm putting them down. You should have blown that team out by 50. Denver's been awful on defense, and you had a guy who's never taken a snap since I believe his junior year of college,
Yep.
right? And it was a nightmare. They had 1 completion. That should have been a total blowout, and that offense couldn't get anything going because Taysom Hill, he struggled. He didn't look like an NFL quarterback in that contest. I'm not leaving them at 3 for that game against Denver. So my number 3 team now, who's going to move up, Buffalo. They made Justin Herbert look like a rookie, and that's been tough to do this year. Herbert's been terrific, as we talked about. Buffalo was really good in that game. Their defense is getting better, right? Now, Anthony Lynn maybe had probably the most boneheaded coaching decisions in that game that I've ever seen. I hope he's fired by the end of the year. Great guy, awful coach this year. But Buffalo is at 3. I'm looking forward to those 2 contests. 2 Steelers didn't impress me too much in this game that we just watched. Number 1, Chiefs. They're rock and roll. I don't know who's going to stop them. They are unbelievably good.
All right, guys. So I think we all have similar lists right now. I'm going to put Buffalo at 5. I think Buffalo right now, you look at them and Tennessee, I think we're all kind of debating which one to put. I just put Tennessee ahead of them just because they beat them in the regular season. That's what I always go back to, head-to-head, right? We're thinking of which team's better. That team beat them, so that's just enough for me. Number 4, I was debating, Nolan, with you to move the Saints down. I'm going to keep Tennessee at 4. Just for now, I think Derrick Henry, like you guys said, he heats up at this time of the year, and it's scary. It's pretty scary because I think teams that are probably just out of it probably don't even want to play Derrick Henry, and he just gets better and better this time of year when it gets cold. So Tennessee looks good. Number 3, the Saints. I don't know why they keep Taysom Hill in at quarterback when they have Jameis Winston on the bench, who would probably make games more comfortable for them. And that's just Sean Payton. I guess maybe he's just toying with the NFL right now to show how good he actually is at maybe calling plays. I don't know, but Taysom Hill seems to be doing decently enough to get the wins. Didn't look good against Denver, but they still won. Number 2, Pittsburgh. We know their defense is good. We know their offense is good, but there's been a lot of shaky games. And 11-0, yeah, it's great. They don't have a loss, and that's what you got to do when you're playing sports. You aim to win, and they've done exactly that. They haven't looked good in every single game. We knew it was going to be a hard-fought battle. It's a divisional game, but these guys haven't practiced in 10 days. They got their starting quarterback out. I mean, come on, you got to win by at least more convincing fashion at least than that. Number 1, guys, KC. The only thing I will give KC is they're going to get into some trouble if they go into the playoffs and they got to run out the clock and they're passing the football. I understand you have Patrick Mahomes back there, but you drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the 32nd pick and you don't trust him to run out the clock. If Brady gets that ball back, guys, we would be having a different conversation because the Bucs started to heat up late in the game. So I think, Andy Reid, I know you love being aggressive. I know you have the best quarterback in the league. But I think you need to look back and say, man, we drafted this kid. Why don't we use him, especially in a position like this? But KC's still the best team during that one.
Okay, so there you have it, our top 5 picks heading into week 13. It was so great chatting with you guys today. That concludes our episode. Thank you so much for joining us on Touchdown with True Sports, brought to you by Pickups, your everything on demand delivery app. We'll see you next week.